This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Ian Collins.
And good evening, coming up later.
Manners are the social glue that keeps us together as a society. As long as humans walk the earth, manners will always be important and needed.
Apart from Londoners who ain't got no manners. Apparently it's very, very bad down there. Very rude bunch of people. I'll tell you why a think tank thinks that in just a bit. Also this.
I believe we can prove the doomsayers wrong, and I believe we can seize the opportunities of this defining moment in the history of our nation. I am determined to deliver what the British people voted for and to get it right.
I think we all need an injection of optimism. Can we supply it? Why is Brexit definitely going to be a good thing? And we start here.
We can't expect integration just to take care of itself. We've got to be better at managing that integration so that we live together as one community and not two.
Nice thought. Getting there is perhaps a little trickier. Come to that in just a second. Also, we're going to look at the story of Oxford. This is another beauty. Oxford University Student Union has banned the Christian Union from a freshers' fair to protect lonely new undergraduates from harm. Those pesky Christians coming round here with your Bibles. I don't know what they thought. They cited things like homophobia. I think they could have probably locked in quite a lot of religions on that, as we've established many times on this programme. But we'll look at that one a little later too. As you would expect, the first part of this show, very exciting, is broadcast in moving pictures on Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/LBC, that's where you can see the visual side of what happens here on the programme, here on late nights. LBC on Facebook is facebook.com/LBC. Simple as that. Now, bunch of questions on this. Is race disparity about discrimination, or is it about class and culture? I'm slightly annoyed about this because I sort of thought it was going to happen. There's aspects of this report, by the way. You might have seen earlier the story of Pakistani women almost leading separate, kind of completely separate lives from anyone else. It specifically focuses on that one group, Pakistani females who are sort of isolated, living very separate, insular existence from mainstream British life. That isn't, that's clearly not helpful to anything when it comes to the wider picture of social cohesion and integration. There's always been a question mark in that area, but I'm interested in this one as well. This is the race disparity audit, as it was called. Now, you may remember when Theresa May, on her first day in Downing Street, said she was going to make everything in life better. That was the intention. Well, it's described as pretty explosive, the results of this. It highlights racial and socio-economic disparities and how outcomes differ due to background, class, gender, income across various areas of the state, including health, education, employment and justice. I'm not sure what I don't think we have a racism problem in this country, by the way. I don't think we have areas where there might be a racist issue, but broadly speaking, this old cobblers. Remember a few years ago somebody wheeled out a sort of junk phrase that the police were institutionally racist, that Macpherson character. It was just a wicked lie, frankly, in order to prop up a certain political point and make people feel that something was being done. It was nonsense, and it was a massive maligning of good, honest, decent female and male police officers of all ranks who were suddenly found themselves hoovered into this one-size-fits-all description of you're all institutionally racist. It was intellectual nonsense. It wasn't borne out in fact. It was politically desirable to say it, but it was largely completely untrue. That doesn't mean there aren't issues, and this is the problem that we have. We still have issues in some areas. We don't have a racism problem in this country. You might say, well, you're a white bloke. You could say that. Yes, I can say that because I'm a white bloke with a brain as well. We have some issues that need addressing. But I've always felt that the wider problem is culture and its class. And let me give you a couple of examples from the key findings from this race disparity audit. So, for example, if you look at an area such as education attainment, so Chinese and Asian pupils perform better than white and black pupils, okay? So this incorporates other groups within this as well. Chinese and Asian pupils tend to perform well, and white and black pupils are doing less well. Put your hand up if you're surprised by that stat. Of course you're not surprised by that stat. Of course you're not surprised. Is it a generalisation? Well, maybe, but I think we all know what it means, that there is a sort of a culturally and an educational, industrious, studious nature to the Asian / Chinese cultures that I think we would all identify. I remember when I was at school, there was one kid in our class who was Asian. There were more than one kid in the school who was of Asian descent, but there was one kid of Indian descent in our school who never even went out at break times. He used to stay in the classroom and carry on studying. He was a really nice guy. It wasn't as if he was, unable to mix or anything like that. He just diligently studied, probably directed from his parents, I would imagine. His parents would probably say, when it comes to playtime, stay indoors, catch up on your homework, read a book, do your geometry, do whatever you've got to do for that reason. So there's all sorts of key findings on this new report. There are issues like this. The unemployment rate for black, Asian and minority ethnic people is 8%. That's nearly double that of white British adults, 4.6%. Now, I think you could explain that away, again, based on an entire issue that looks at class as distinct from colour. I don't think people are unemployed more because they happen to be black or brown. I don't think black or brown people don't want to go to work. I think you'd have to probably look at a cultural, at a class issue on that particular one. White people, Indians and Pakistanis, are more likely to own their home than Bangladeshis and black people. I think, again, you could explain that. You could look at culture, you could look at class. What I don't think we should be completely obsessed with on this is that of race. 0345 6060 973. Will class and culture always determine your success? Will it be as simple and as straightforward as that? Do you believe you've been held back because of your race or your class? Because what's interesting about this, so I think here's a clearer example. Chinese and Asian secondary school pupils perform better than white and black children, okay, particularly those eligible for free meals, although Pakistani pupils consistently fall behind. Gypsy children do significantly worse. Hands up, who's surprised by that? Second question, why do gypsy kids do worse at school? Answer, because they're not at school as often as their other peers. Now, that's not a pejorative statement about gypsy kids. That's just a fact of life. I went to school with quite a lot of gypsy kids, actually. They would leg it for about 4 months and then pop back again. They do a couple of weeks here, go, come back, travel around, come. That was part of the culture. They're not doing as well at school. Well, of course they're not doing as well at school. They're not in it as often. That surely must be a factor on this one. Less than a third of white British pupils on free school meals reach the expected standard of Key Stage 2, worse than any other ethnic group. So this must be surely about class and about culture. When I read that Indian or Asian and Chinese kids do best when it comes to schooling, then that kind of says to me that there is and again, to repeat what I said a second ago, that will be of no surprise to anyone. And you might think it's a bit of a stereotype up there with, there's quite a lot of Asian doctors kind of thing. But it's kind of, there's a reason the word stereotype exists. Sometimes those sort of stereotypes are not meant to be crude or offensive. They're just borne out in fact. There is probably a disproportionate amount of doctors in this country of Indian descent. Without even looking that up, I would be reasonably confident to say that's probably the case. And there is clearly a cultural thirst within that culture that has a greater emphasis on learning and academia. That must be the case. That is not quite as alive and well in the white and black communities. We talked the other day about the Care Minister had said that Indigenous white people in this country could learn a lot from ethnic minorities when it comes to looking after relatives. And a similar thing. It's not that somebody who happens to be born brown possesses a specific gene that makes them look after their granny a little better when they're old. It's because that person culturally has it within them that is a kind of dutiful responsibility that you should be. And similarly, with some of this, you will find, as a proportion, probably more kids of Asian. I'm tempted to just say Indian, but I think Asian, depending on how you define Asian, of course, Chinese descent, will be more industrious academically, educationally, than other peer groups. Is anybody really surprised about that? We're always sort of looking. This report, where Theresa May has said, we've got to change, or we've got to either explain and change what is happening here. She's apparently very angry about this. I can't imagine what Theresa May looks like angry, but she's apparently very angry, and she wants this to be sorted out good and proper. She wants to make sure that we sort this one out. She says we need to either explain things or change things. Well, I can explain things, and I think we will eventually change things. And I think most of what we obsess about, thinking we have a racism problem, race disparity, does kind of smack of somebody isn't getting a job because they are non-white, or somebody is not doing well in a certain area because they are white. I mean, how does that... So this isn't just about one culture or one race versus another race. This is right across the spectrum. 0345 6060 973. Would you agree that it's predominantly class and culture that these kind of reports are all about? So when we look at educational differences, I mean, you're not telling me that teachers in schools are, when they've got a mixed class, have got white kids, they've got black kids, they've got Asian kids in their class, that they're deciding deliberately to not teach the white and black kids quite as robustly as they're teaching the Asian kids. Clearly that isn't the case. Clearly that is not the case. So there's another reason for it, and that would be cultural. If you look around where I live, I'm looking at schools at the moment. My little boy will start school next year, so we're doing the usual trek of going around lots of schools. Is that one a good one? Where we live, there really isn't a bad school, and there's quite a lot of academic excellence in that area. We went to one school where every kid passed their 11 plus. You know, it's that kind of sort of vibe going on down there. It's incredible and it's extraordinary. And most of that comes from parental guidance. So in certain areas, among certain demographics or socio-economic groups, you will find people stand out, and they stand out because of either their own culture or their own class. There's nothing different going on in the school. The teachers will teach diligently and enthusiastically to every type of kid in the classroom. They don't have specific lessons just for the middle-class white kids in that area. It's the same lesson for everybody. But that group will do particularly well, because in that area, middle-class white kids are from backgrounds where culturally it is very, very important to have a great spotlight and onus on education. And in terms of class, they're mostly from middle-class areas, which would mean perhaps other extra activities over the course of the weekend or after school mean the child gets an extra kind of leg up. It is not because they are white. Black kids aren't doing bad because they are black. White kids in other areas who are doing bad aren't doing bad because they're white. It's surely about class and culture. How do we repair this division of class? Because I'm not sure isn't this called life? Isn't this thing called life? You know, different people, you don't always find yourself stuck in those groups, by the way. You might be in that group for a little while, but you might not always be in that group. You find a way around it, you circumnavigate it. You say, right, blow this for a game of soldiers. I found myself in a group of people that aren't doing very well. I mean, the government can't surely legislate for... Do you really expect that Theresa May to pop up a policy that's going to legislate for every type of behaviour, response, background, culture, and micromanage our lives? I mean, it sounds great. Let's have a diversity report. Oh, look, white kids and black kids aren't doing as well as Asian kids or Chinese kids. That's the kind of upshot headline of this. Well, yeah, that's true. That is true. Is that the government's fault? No. Whose fault is it? Well, sometimes the answer is, it's just how it is. It won't always be that way, but right now it is. It's got a whole load better than if you'd have done this report 10, 15 years ago. I'm pretty sure of that. 0345 6060 973. My lines are open. It's Late Night with Ian Collins, LBC.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Yesterday was the day silent Catalonia finally found its voice. 350,000 people took to the streets to say that they believe in unity. Theo Ashwood, who is in Barcelona.
Been speaking to people because it's a hotbed for independence about why they want Catalonia to be independent.
Democracy in Spain doesn't exist now.
So last weekend for many Catalonians brought back memories of General Franco and the fascist dictatorship.
Yeah, all this, the memory for all the things that Franco done on his moment, come again.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Hampton by Hilton. Book direct for the lowest price.
Every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
Here are the swallows, gathering to make the journey to Africa and glorious sunshine. And here's the Jones family, gathering at number 37, about to go into hibernation. Let's hope their boiler's in good shape, or it could be a miserable winter.
At Swale Heating, our expert engineers can install an A-rated Worcester Bosch boiler, which comes with a warranty of up to 10 years and a year's free cover for the whole central heating system, subject to survey. For a quote, visit swaleheating.com. Rely on us to keep you warm.
This weekend, England's two most successful clubs go head-to-head at Anfield on the Sky Sports Premier League channel. Liverpool and Man United battle it out in one of football's biggest rivalries. Upgrade today for this weekend's action and enjoy more top clashes including Everton v Arsenal, Spurs v Liverpool and Man United v Spurs. Live only on our new channel dedicated to the Premier League. Now £18 a month. Search New Sky Sports. Cancellation requires 31 days notice. Further terms apply.
From office equipment to fuel. What if the everyday things you buy for your business could add up to something a bit more rewarding? With the American Express Gold Business Card, you can earn membership rewards points on your business spend and use them for office supplies, restaurants or even flights. Join now and get 20,000 bonus points when you spend £3,000 in the first 3 months. Plus your first year's annual card fee is on us, saving you £125. Search Amex Gold Business to apply. Welcome offer subject to card membership approval. For a card with no annual fee, rewards or other features, an alternative is available. See website for terms.
Hey, Sarah, did you see our street in the Admiral ad last night? Yeah, we're the inspiration for multi-cover. Guaranteed discounts on Admiral home and car insurance, don't you know?
Your home and car on one policy. But seriously, it's a lifesaver.
I know. I did my car, Rob's car and the house, and it was multi-cover discounts all round.
Ooh, that deserves a celebration.
Cup of tea, something stronger.
Multi-cover your home and cars at admiral.com.
In need of adventure? Then escape with us and travel through an exotic Arabian market to a sultan's palace and a breathtaking cave of wonders before you discover a whole new world soaring through the stars on a flying carpet. Come on in, let the magic begin with Disney's spectacular West End musical, Aladdin. Start your journey at aladdinthemusical.co.uk.
Air France.
La France
is in the air.
Fancy flying somewhere with a little more flair? Et voilà! Our Olala deals from London Heathrow let you fly to big destinations for little prices. Shanghai, Lima, and many more. Allez, allez! This offer ends on Tuesday the 10th of October. Book now at airfrance.co.uk and say au revoir.
Air France.
La France
is in the air.
Ian Collins on LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation, 03456060973. We're on Twitter, of course. That's at LBC, or you can follow me at Ian Collins UK. Let's start off in Hounslow. This is Narma. How you doing?
Hi, Ian. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think race is culture.
Okay.
So, if you take the tube in the morning, really early in the morning, if you take the buses at 4 in the morning, going on to 7 in the morning, which is when people go out to cleaning jobs and factory jobs, the population is disproportionately ethnic.
Correct.
If you take the tube later than that, which is the city or the office higher paying jobs, the commuters are disproportionately white, even in ethnically diverse areas like Hounslow. So that says something. That says something of not only is there an issue with regards to access to employment, there's an issue with access to the types of employment that people get. depending on their race and their culture.
I would contend that most of that would be about somebody's class and financial status rather than the status of their ethnicity.
No, most of the people who go out who are doing these cleaning jobs are doing it because I did a survey for the RSA at a local estate here. Most of the people that I surveyed had an MBA, but were doing non-MBA jobs because they couldn't get it. There was a Pakistani man who had an MBA who was working in a swimming pool. The majority of the ethnic minorities that I surveyed in that group had top qualifications. They were middle class within their community, but they weren't getting the middle class jobs in the UK. So,
but you wouldn't probably find a middle class person of colour with a good top qualification, as you say, cleaning floors in a bank.
No. Yes, you would. You would definitely.
Rarely.
Yeah. No, not rarely.
So, so why have we got people of that very background who are doing better than white and black people then?
So it's you have to basically these people have excelled beyond, above and beyond. So they had to be better than the competition. So and they had to have like an excellent track record and all sorts of stuff. They had to be above and beyond. I mean, that's something that all of us within the ethnic minority communities know, that you have to be above and beyond if you want to do better. You have to have twice the amount of qualifications. Okay. You have to do twice the amount of work in order to stay at the same level.
Right. Tell me this then. Why does an Indian do better than a Bangladeshi in this country?
It's probably because of the politics of that region, the politics of those different countries.
No, but in this country, if it's about race, why have we got then a race issue within racial groups in this respect? If you use the term Asian, and if you look at India, Bangladesh, two countries next to each other, when people have emigrated to this country, maybe decades ago, as we sit here in 2017, Indian kids and adults will do much better than Bangladeshis. Why would that be?
Well, it's the same disparity that you have within between Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims in India. There is a huge disparity in the economic...
Yeah, but you're saying there's a race issue in this country, almost racism, in a roundabout kind of way, but that wouldn't explain why we have this disparity going on within various ethnic groups, like the one I gave you. It wouldn't be because of the history, which I understand, the history back in India, caste systems and all sorts of things you could look at, but over here today... Why would there be a disparity here? Even between Pakistani and Indian people in this country, there are differences in terms of outcomes.
It's to do with the security that these kids have within their families. For example, I was a school governor at one of the local schools, and there was an assembly. I was at the school assembly, and three kids made a contribution at that assembly. When we went back to the meeting, the headmistress pointed out the contribution of the well-spoken Indian kid, but she didn't point out the contribution of the not-so-well-spoken Bangladeshi kids. So it's to do with the amount of, the type of work their parents were doing, the amount of effort their parents...
What ethnicity was the teacher, by the way?
She was white.
So she picked out... Do you think... I mean, is it possible the other kid was just a bit rubbish?
He wasn't rubbish. He's just...
I don't want to be unfair, but you're right. A teacher shouldn't mark out any kid or make any kid feel bad. But did she just pick the best one? Right, because she still picked a person of colour, if that's the point.
No, so the person that she picked was clearly better spoken than the one... So, for example, like, if the parents speak... a different language to the child at home, it makes it and do not read to their children at home. Makes it
well, that's my point about class and culture rather than race.
Yeah, but so that should be amended at schools. That should be a thing for schools to look at and amend.
But they surely must do their best. I mean, when I've been, as I said a second ago, I've been going around schools lately because of my little boy starting school next year. You do that, visit to see which ones you like, and hopefully you get your best one. And there's all sorts of kids of different backgrounds in the classes you look at. And there's a very, I know they always give you their best line, the schools, when you go to see them, but they're very stringent at emphasising that they try to teach to all, not just all academic abilities, but to all other considerations as well, whether that is somebody's religion or background or faith or some other issue that they might have. And that couldn't be... I can't believe a teacher would say, right, I'm going to teach these Indian kids a little bit harder than I'm going to teach these black kids. Would she do that?
That's not how it happens. That's not how it works. For example, when I was at school and I was the only black kid in my class, I was given an E in science when I got 75%. And when I went to speak to my teacher to change my marks, she wouldn't change it. She still kept it at 25%. And she put me in the corner and said, I'm not changing that for you. And that was my pre-GCSE mark.
Surely that's just factually inaccurate. If you got 75%, you can't get an E, can you?
No, she did give me an E. And I don't have the record of that, but I did get an E.
No, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying it's fact. How was she even able to look you in the face and argue
she was fine
that
with
was the
it
case?
Because historically, black people were thought to have the mental capacity of 11-year-olds.
But not in the mod. I'm sure she didn't think that, did she?
In this modern era, we're still thought of as being thicker than other races.
Who thinks that? Come on, who thinks that?
Yes, the way we get treated. That's the way I got treated at school. When I got a B in my English GCSE, my English teacher looked at me and she said, "Well, the results must have been good if you got a B." I'm not kidding. That's exactly what happened to me. I was disproportionately treated harsher than my fellow classmates. That
is. So you just had a lot of racist teachers at your school then?
Probably, and that's what most some kids have to face. There's an innate racism. There's an innate racism within our society that we have to address. There is an innate racism. There is an innate racism.
There's sloppy levels of discrimination, innate racism in our society amongst some people. We've pretty much eradicated racism in this country now.
We haven't. No, we haven't.
In terms of organisations like National Front mooching around the place and politicians calling for a white Britain and rivers of blood, all of that has gone. Come on.
EDL is still marching around. They're still marching around.
All six of them.
Well, regardless, they're still marching.
But they're not even. Their issue isn't even colour. Apparently,
they're a legal entity. They're still marching around. They're still,
all six of them. They don't represent many people. You're never going to find a society that's completely clear of half-wits, are we? Although we'd all quite like to get there. Nama, it's been brilliant. We have to stop because we have to go to some news, but thank you. You've certainly highlighted some interesting, and by the way, I wish at no point to reduce or challenge your own experiences, the ones you were given about your own schooling. I just think en masse as to where we are today as a society, that we have disparity. But is this disparity because of race, or is this more about class and culture? I mean, the report does, in fairness, it does talk about elements of background, class, gender, income across various issues. And I think you'd find they would explain more of this than the issue of that person hasn't done well because they're black or white or brown. I don't think that's where we're at. Predominantly, I don't think that's where we're at on this one. Theresa May says we need to explain or change all of this. She's meant to be livid about it. 0345 6060 973. Great calls coming in on this. Stay with us. Still to come this evening.
I believe we can prove the doomsayers wrong, and I believe we can seize the opportunities of this defining moment in the history of our nation. I am determined to deliver what the British people voted for and to get it right.
Yeah, she says real progress has been made on Brexit. Jeremy Corbyn says no progress has been made on Brexit, and most commentators the last time I looked say we are all doomed. Can we finally, serious question tonight, find out why everything is going to be just fine when we leave the EU? We'll look at that one in just a bit. Plus more on that news that Oxford University Students' Union has banned the Christian Union from its Freshers' Fair, of accusing Christianity of being an excuse for homophobia and neo-colonialism. We'll look at that one on LBC next. Right now it's 10:30 and the latest news headlines come from Thomas Watts.
Theresa May's told the Commons the UK will not be members of the single market or its customs union and instead wants a creative solution. Updating MPs on Brexit, the Prime Minister's added progress will not always be smooth, but the UK can prove the doomsayers wrong. At least one person's been killed and 2 seriously injured in a fast-spreading wildfire in Northern California. It's thought 14 major fires, which have destroyed 1,500 homes and businesses,